Frank Tully from Downpatrick, farming partnership with my father and mother, farming 500 acres, and we're a suckler cow to beef system. So this was all about here, where everything's a grass-based system here on a rotational grazing paddock-based system, maximising the amount of grass we can grow. The research has been a big thing on this farm, because without research we don't really know where we're going, so we have to be able to say we've tried this works, and also for other people around here, because they're coming forward. It's been a big thing on farm research. It's alright an institution saying this will work, this won't work, but there's massive variations again within farms, even within on our own farm, on soil types to ground types as well coming forward. So research has been a big thing for us, to see really how other cattle perform on it. I finished in stock cows and calves, growing cattle on the way through, and there's been certain types of swords that have been good for one particular batch but not so good for the other, so it's trying to find the sweet spot for every animal type throughout its life stage and growing stage on the way through. So it's been a big learning curve, and with the help of these research institutions that you can dip in and speak to other people who are trialling this and trialling other variations of forage or whatever on the way through has been a massive help along the way. So challenges going forward I would find on the farm. The carbon footprint at the minute has been it's a hot topic, and has been for the past couple of years, so it's going to be a massive one going forward. It used to be before everyone would have been more concerned about where your beef came from or this and that, but now it's just the carbon footprint and the carbon image that's going forward on it, and the agriculture industry in particular has been getting very bad press over the past couple of years. So it's a big thing for us going forward, and what I'd like to see is agriculture proving itself that we're not part of the problem, we're part of the solution, and how we can really be or benefit others and be a help to the environment rather than a hindrance to it. And the government really need to realise this too. For young people like myself coming forward, they're not doing too much to encourage young people coming into the industry or by help of ways. It's more they're trying to do nearly everything to red tape and label you to try and encourage you not to go into the industry rather than coming forward, which I would like to see reversed and encourage more young farmers coming forward for a number of reasons. And one of the big things coming forward is to try and prove that we can do it, and food security within the country as well, because there's been big changes over the past couple of years, and the likes of it just seeing what's happened in Ukraine and Russia and stuff and all, when one small change over there has a massive global impact around the world. So we need to be more food security around our own country and be able to produce protein from what we can grow here in the country, which is green grass. So for going forward for that, I would like to see better sort of research being carried out on carbon, more accurate data carried out on carbon testing on farm, proof of how it's been justified and this and that, and how the cycle is coming around on the farm, and what has really been taken off, rather than just running us all as one metric. As the UK, it should be grass-based system would be different to the likes of an intensive beef finishing unit or whatever. I would like to see more research in these certain areas, more things going forward. I would probably like to see longer trials going through on farm. A 2 to 3 year, I don't think it's really only getting established and up and running. I would like to see more 5 to 10 year trials on farm coming through, to really justify and see how that system works for a period of time, rather than just taking data from the first 1 or 2 years and making that the proven information that's been gathered, when it's not really, because there's been such variations within the past couple of years. The weather has been a massive thing for us in the past 5 years. These are not normal weather patterns, so to take 2 dry years or every year as the same, every year has not been the same, and it's not a fair comparison in my opinion for these things going forward, to just earmark a system and say that's the way it is, or that's the way it should be, or this is the data we found. It's not a fair comparison. So more research I would like to see going forward on that, on a broader spectrum across Northern Ireland and the UK. I would also like to see more of a localisation or county by county, nearly farm by farm type system, grass-based system, intensive beef finishing system, same in the dairy sector, whatever, to try and, for the carbon coming forward, to try and count more what is being gained or what's not being gained, or disadvantages coming through on these systems. How much is when my cattle are sitting out here 365 days of the year and they're eating grass, and the whole cycle is going back through, and the methane cycle isn't, yes, it's a cycle, but it's not that long a cycle coming through, and how is that affecting really the big global picture coming forward, and more of these localisation trials, rather than just branding us as UK-wide or Ireland-wide or that sort of way. It needs to be more in localised areas to really compare and see what's coming forward, because climates are so, even within our own county, climates from here to 5 miles over the road. We're in an area here, we're in a very low rainfall area, but 5 miles over the road they would get 5 inches more rain a year than we would here, that type of thing. So it's a big thing that way.
My name is David Thompson. I farm here with my father. He's also David Thompson, and my wife Carol. We've moved us to this farm in about 2017, 2018. So there's we were farming about 170 acres block here. We're about 120 acres around the farm. We started milking cows here in 2019, so we're now up to around 140 cows. We work on a sort of spring calving system. Calve cows from February through to end of May. Cows are averaging about 8,200 litres, 2 tonne of meal, and we try and just farm a very simple basic system on things, all grass, no alternative forages, and everything's block fed and silage. I think as farmers we just need to, we always have to keep looking at improving our efficiencies within our business, and research and innovation are the sort of ways that give you a wee bit more sort of confidence into trying these things. If you've seen that maybe through research that it's been shown to work and it's been shown to maybe improve your efficiencies within your business, then you can go on and adapt them new practices with a bit more confidence. I suppose the biggest one is going to be now the climate and carbon auditing. In terms of how the farm adapts to that, and how it's going to impact my own farming process. Is there going to have to be a reduction in cow numbers, or will I have to take on more ground? And also maybe I have to maybe start doing new things within the farm. For me, there are going to be challenges in terms of, are there going to be things brought in that are going to cost the farm significant money? And if so, how can that be offset? But at the same time, whenever there's always challenges, there's also opportunities. So you're always trying to make sure that you can spot those opportunities to sort of be ahead of the game as well. Well, a lot of things now, I suppose there's research being done in terms of how we feed our cows. The big thing being talking about is how much methane the cow produces. Maybe we have to look at the research. I think there is research being done looking at maybe what additives and stuff can be put into your grains and things. So more research on that would be a big help. It might be also a case of, when we are looking at grasses, is there going to be something within the grass silages or a multi-species mix or something like that that's going to show maybe benefits as well in terms of how much carbon maybe sequestering that you're able to do, but making sure that we can go to governments and say, well, for introducing these different types of swards, can that be shown that we're improving so in terms of research showing that, but also research then actually being able to go to the likes of governments and showing how that's going to, for us farming as a whole, how that's going to help them improve. Also on the grain side of things, I suppose there's also a big thing on soya, and I think there's going to and I think maybe there is some researchers now starting to look at the impact of taking soya out of the diet. I've spoke to one person and he's saying in terms of high yielding herds, that's exclusion of soya maybe has a bigger impact. Could that potentially then have an impact down the line in terms of the farming systems going forward and where farmers need to be moving more focusing on? Yeah, I think that the sooner that you get an idea in terms of research of where the farming system of the future is going because of what these rules and climate change and carbon auditing, the sooner that research and innovation can sort of show us that this is where this is where we're at, this is where we're going to, and these are the farming systems that are maybe going to be more useful in the future, the sooner then farmers can start making changes to go down those lines.
Johnny Blair, I farm in partnership with my father and my mother. We farm just shy of 300 acres here in the northwest. We face out towards Donegal. All of our land is north facing, so we get very little of the south facing sun. We are all sucklers. We have somewhere in the region of around 90 cows, trying to take everything through to beef that we can, but we do sell live as and when we need to. We are trying to target a more of a low input system here now as opposed to a high production system. If you don't try new things, you don't grow or you don't advance, and there's only one way to try these things, and it's to give it a go. And I'd be quite keen to even try small farm trials, like even if just little things that I think, well, what's the rest period for this ground? Is it better to maybe try another wee bit of a rest period? Should I rest it for a year and see what happens? Who knows? There's things there that we don't really know until we try. And if we just try and do the same thing every year, we'll not advance. We'll not get any better. Weather unpredictability is a big one. Perhaps the weather's always been unpredictable, but certainly we've had a July and an August which is meant to be summer, and it felt more like winter. Other parts of the country might experience very dry conditions as well. That is something that has to be taken into account. Even down to things like the lack of veterinary surgeons coming through the system is a big worry for livestock farmers. Parasitical resistance to wormers. All these things are coming down the line, and there isn't a huge amount coming up as a saviour as of yet. Genetic advances within, for instance, things like resilience to parasite within genetic families. There's cattle in this field that will be perfectly happy with a burden of fluke or worms, and there's ones that will not be able to stand it and will fail as a result. That is something I think should be looked at. There's a lot of talk about trees at the moment, and trees on farms, and there's a lot of backlash about that, but there is a place for agroforestry and silvopastoral systems, especially within the suckler and sheep enterprises, I believe. The benefits they bring from the point of view of potentially increasing length of grazing season, and even down to something daft like reducing the amount of mud on the surface of the ground, which might reduce the number of mud snails, which might reduce the number of fluke. You never know until you try these things, and it's just something it's worth a go. Soil biology, I think, is a big one because it's something we don't really know about. Something certainly has been left in the back burner for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Sward types, yes, it's good to increase the diversity in your pastures from my point of view for all the reasons I've said, but sometimes even letting like this is a fairly traditional, or what would be classed as a fairly traditional perennial ryegrass white clover mix, through the management that we've put in place in the last 2 years, it doesn't really look like that anymore. It has altered and changed a wee bit. I'm happy with that because that's what I wanted it to do, to become more resilient in of itself. So, even something like mob grazing could be looked at as something could be potentially researched. Just to try and de-risk the system, really. Volatility, even in inputs, we're looking into a winter now where feed rations are going to be through the roof. I think fertiliser is certainly going to be up and down. I can never see fertiliser being £200, £250 a tonne anymore. And for a suckler man or a sheep farm, £1,000 a tonne for fertiliser, it just isn't viable. De-risking from again, trying to go down the route of reduced worming, reduced inputs to the cattle themselves, try and make them a lot more resilient to the land and the environment they're actually living on. For instance, where we're farming and where somebody else is farming might not necessarily face the same challenges, certainly in parasites or weather conditions, ground conditions. There's so many different variables that you have to sort of figure out for yourself what your animals can deal with on your own land. But yeah, trying to de-risk the system so you're not constantly putting money out of the farm. More resilience, trying to make yourself sustainable. Sustainable is a word that's overused probably at the moment, but trying to make yourself sustainable from the point of view if you will be here next year or in 5 years' time and subs probably will be gone. That's a very high likelihood coming down the line. So we have to try and set ourselves up to meet that challenge. And there is a few ways to do that, and this is the way I'm trying to go.